I know that I want to do myofunctional therapy, but I have like zero interest in running the business. Work on strengthening those individual muscles. Make sure that that back of the tongue can isolate, can elevate, has good posterior seal before you even try to consider working on the swallowing pattern. You know, there's some people that charge by session as a myofunctional therapist and have wonderful success, and they have done that for years and years and years. I love that you guys think that my brain can withhold. I got lost after the first question. Welcome everyone. Thank you so much for being here tonight with us, and thank you, for always spreading that word, spreading that awareness. Whether you're brand new to the world of myofunctional therapy or you've been practicing for years, I'm absolutely thrilled that you're here with us. This space is always for learning, connection, and just growing together as a community. And I just can't wait to dive in with the awesome questions you all sent in. And I have the pleasure of being joined by Dana Lopez tonight. She will be our co-host. Dana is actually an alumni of my School of Myo 8-week introductory course. She is an absolutely fantastic, incredible myofunctional therapist. Her clinical insight and passion for all things Airway Myo is truly inspiring. So Dana, thank you so much for being here with me.
Thank you for having me. I'm super excited. This is going to be super fun.
Absolutely. So before we get started, everybody, just so you know, your attendance on here will be recorded. So as long as you are here, you will get that CE credit. Just give Airway Health Solutions, I think Lauren typically says like a week or so, 7 business days, something like that, to get the CE certificates out to you. But if any questions, of course, always reach out and just let us know. But let's get started. So we had, Dana, you have the list. We have amazing questions that came in. We're hoping to get to pretty much as many as we can until we have to wrap up and say goodnight.
All right. So I hope you can still see me. I'm pulling up the list here.
Yes, we can.
All right. The first question is, after you identify the signs, what do you do with the information?
After you identify the what? I'm sorry, my computer went out for a sec.
Oh, that's okay. After you identify the signs, I'm assuming OMDs, what
do you do with it? I think you froze for a second, but that's okay. So I assume you mean in the hygiene operatory maybe, because obviously if you were doing the myofunctional therapy, you would sign up for a myo program. So if I'm a hygienist and I'm in the operatory, I'm screening for airway, and I find whatever might be going on, bruxism, a Mallampati score of 3 or 4. Maybe you're taking that cotton roll and you're putting it up between 3 and 14, trying to get a good measurement of that transverse width, and it seems insufficient. There's crowding, there's attrition. What do I do? So first, I would obviously present the information to the patient. If you have an intraoral camera, taking photos obviously are always great education pieces. I would also go back to whatever the patient in that appointment has kind of brought to your attention as to what their chief complaint might be, looking back through their medical history and trying to kind of find the connection. So maybe, throughout that appointment, the patient might have mentioned to you, I can't get by the day. By 3 o'clock, I'm ready for that afternoon coffee. Or they're talking about how they have to constantly hit the snooze button on their alarm in the morning. Or it's so hard for me to get up and get my kids up in the morning because I don't want to get out of bed. Just not really feeling well rested, right? So seeing what you might have found intraorally that can kind of relate back to their potentially most likely being some kind of airway issue or sleep disordered breathing. So again, that bruxism, that narrow palate, the crowding, and just kind of, again, educate them, give as much information as you can as to what your findings are and how they relate to whatever else might be going on in their dental history or overall medical history. I hope that was a good answer. I feel like it's hard without an actual example of giving you actual verbiage of what I would say, but I think I answered the question.
Yeah. The next question is, any resources to learn best ways to incorporate orofacial myology into OT for better sleep, oral function, and regulation?
Oh, I love this. I'm so happy that we have an occupational therapist on the webinar tonight because it is so important for us to not only all, collaborate with one another and learn each other's specialty, but occupational therapists make great myofunctional therapists. So, I think that my biggest piece of advice for you, if you're not already trained in myofunctional therapy, I definitely think that that's something that you can add to your repertoire and be able to help these patients do exactly what you're asking, sleep better, help with that, nervous system regulation, their overall oral function. If you are kind of just getting started listening to webinars like this or podcasts, I have a podcast called I Spy with My MyoEye that is really more focused on myofunctional therapy resources and things like that. The Airway Health Solutions series Lauren does like every Wednesday, once a month or something. She does her conversation series. There's master classes. There's a bunch of free information you can get out there. The Breathe Institute has some lectures on YouTube, like Dr. Zaghi's lectures. There's a bunch on YouTube. But yeah, if you have like specific resources in mind that you're looking for, please shoot me a message. I can definitely help direct you somewhere. The AAPMD is another great resource. So the American Academy of Physiological Medicine and Sleep Dentistry, really trying to bridge that gap between the medical and the dental community. But I think that it would be really great for you to begin myofunctional therapy yourself. So at the end of tonight, we are going to go over our 8-week introductory course. And that is for all healthcare professionals. So whether you are licensed professionals, so an RDH, an OT, a PT, an SLP, a dentist, we'll have more information on that and a little flash sale too at the end, which is exciting.
All right, the next question is any resources or scripts of conversations?
Any resources or scripts? Okay, so I think this is a hygienist that's asking this question.
Yeah.
As far as like scripts of conversations and resources go, I can say that as of, I want to say like 3 months ago, maybe, I started like a little mini podcast specifically for hygienists called Beyond the Dental Chair. You can join my private Facebook group called The Myo Hygienist, or just follow me on Instagram, and I actually post the episodes in there. They're on YouTube. You can find them on my YouTube channel, but there are a few episodes that I literally talked just about this and giving you like example verbiage of how you can introduce these topics. Even just the simple topic of doing like introducing an airway screener into the practice, right? Like some of us have been practicing as hygienists in the same office for decades, and it's like, okay, you've been my hygienist for 10 years and now you're doing this weird thing. Like, why are you all of a sudden doing it? So having that conversation about why we're doing it, the importance of it, and really making it all about prevention, right? So I think that will be really helpful for you. If there's something more specific, because just it was a little vague, like any resources and scripts of conversations, feel free to reach out to me and I can help answer that question a little better.
Are you starting to see a shift in myofunctional therapy awareness and treatment more now than just a few years ago?
Absolutely. Oh my gosh, so much so. I really think that James Nestor's book, Breath, did so much for our field. I will definitely say, so I started myofunctional therapy in 2016, and especially in the last 5 years, I will say there's been such a shift. Like the amount of people that even find me just online, like, we treat all ages, pediatrics and adults, but all I can think about, like when we have patients call, like what moms are typing in Google, right? Like people are Google searching this stuff, whether it's tongue tie or swallowing issues or picky eating, or, sleep talking, sleepwalking, night terrors, wetting the bed, ADHD symptoms, like snoring, like audible breathing, like, hearing all the time from, other healthcare providers, like my child's going to grow out of this. Like moms have, and dads too, but moms especially have just these gut intuitions. And so people are searching for these things. And then with the book Breath, not only are people searching for their children, but there's so much more awareness between that. And I think COVID too brought such an awareness on the importance of nasal breathing. Like people are so much more self-aware of their breathing habits these days and looking for holistic alternative ways to treat whatever medical conditions, they might have. than going to the traditional, Western medical world and pretty much putting band-aids on everything, right? And like script after script. I just was having this conversation with my cousin's wife, her 4-year-old little boy. He's having some GI stuff going on, and like their answer, like they want to put him on like a steroid for like a long extended period of time. And she's like, but why? The steroid's just going to mask what the root cause. Like, I want to know why his labs are presenting this way, right? Like, I don't just want to throw a medication at it. So, that was a long tangent to your question. The simple answer would have been yes, I do see a trend going upwards, but it just makes me so excited. And Dana, I'm sure you can share in my enthusiasm. And if you want to even give, your take on it, how you feel people have been more aware of this over the last couple of years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's really surprising. Even just in the one day that I do hygiene, I feel like I started these conversations with my patients 2 years ago, and just now they're saying, okay, I think I know like what you're talking about now. Mm-hmm. Or sometimes I'll ask them like how they're sleeping. They're like, oh, I tried mouth taping and breathe right strips. Okay, that's a step. Yes. Or just like I have a big poster right in front of them, like consequences of mouth breathing. And they're like, oh my gosh, like I think I'm a mouth breather and I didn't know all of this. Mm-hmm. So it's just like planting those little seeds. Mm-hmm. And then waiting for them to come back and be like, you know what, I think you're right. And that's all that
is so strategic to have it like right in front of them, right? So they're kind of like forced to read it in a way. And it's like,
they have no other option.
Like, that's me. And all the like, the mouth tape trend that's going now. I'm sure that there's going to be a question tonight about mouth tape and my thoughts on it. But even the fact that, I have my husband, he played baseball throughout his life and in college. And one of his friends is now an athletic trainer for, I think it's the San Francisco Giants. I don't know, one of the minor league teams. And he reached out to me and he's like, hey, do you know about Buteyko breathing? Like, do you know about lip tape? Do you know about these nasal dilators? And I'm like, yeah. And they're using Buteyko breathing to help train the team. And it's just so cool to hear.
Yeah. The next one is, at what age can you start myofunctional therapy?
This is a great question. So I will say a more traditional myofunctional therapy program, you're probably looking at 5 and above. With that being said, I have had some very mature 4-year-olds that I have been able to enroll in a myofunctional therapy program. But they do have to have volitional movement. They have to be able to cognitively like understand what it is that you're asking them to do. With the younger age group, like those 3-4-year-olds, sometimes 2.5, but 2.5 is a little tough. But those 3 and 4-year-olds, we do more, we call like mini myo, where we're really trying to set the stage for good, strong foundational skills, right? So in a traditional myofunctional therapy program, by the time they graduate that program, we want them nasal breathing all day, all night, full tongue palatal rest posture all day, all night, lip closed all day, all night, making sure we're swallowing and chewing our food effectively. With somebody in a mini myo program, we don't exactly, those are our long-term goals, but this mini myo population, more often than not, is going to have to do more myofunctional therapy once they're mature and behaviorally, they're ready for it.
I'm getting approached for myofunctional therapy for many kids under 4. I was taught myos for 5 and older. What do I do to help these kids? Is it still in RDH scope?
Yeah, so I think I pretty much answered this, but what I would say, what I find like, even for kids that we get phone calls for and we do like 20-minute phone consults, even if I'm referring them out to, like, let's say like feeding is really the big thing, right? Like I'm not a feeding therapist, but I have somebody in my network that I can refer them to. I am still going to coach the parents as I can with what's in my scope of practice. So something that you can absolutely start doing at literally any age is practicing good nasal hygiene, okay? Xclair nasal spray, so it has an X in it because it has xylitol in it, which is an antimicrobial agent. That can be used on infants. So get the entire family on it. As dental hygienists, we also can talk about nutrition. Like nutrition is in our scope of practice. So talking about the importance of having those tougher foods that they can chew, talking with the mom. Like we have moms all the time that call the office for the baby myo munchies. And again, we don't treat this age when it comes to myofunctional therapy, but there's definitely conversations I can have to point them in the right direction of somebody who can actually treat them, but also give them tips and tricks and talk about the importance of baby-led weaning and why we do that, right? Like I'm sure that they get, blasted on their Instagram stories of whatever, depending what they follow, but they might not really understand the importance of it. So just taking that time to really educate is definitely something that we can do and is in our scope. So there are plenty of things we can do to help this age group. Getting them over for even like a myofunctional guidance appliance. So tooth pillow would be a great referral source for them, especially if it's a family that's calling that's like, I don't have anybody in my area. I don't know. I want to get them started in treatment. I'm seeing their mouth breathing. I'm seeing that there is a lack of space between that primary dentition, but the closest airway provider to me is 6 hours away. Okay. They're probably not going to want to drive those 6 hours. So, with tooth pillow, we can get that. We start at age 3 in tooth pillow with either a Vivos or MyoBrace guidance appliance, just to get them started and help encourage and kind of just change that overall trajectory, right? And then once they are of age, that 3, 4, 5, get them started with the myofunctional therapy to help assist in the root cause, right? Because the root cause, the appliance itself isn't going to do the job. It is the muscles that are going to do all of that lifting essentially, and getting those oral habits corrected as young as we can.
How do you transition from working for the doctor who helped you get your certification to going out on your own?
This is a great question. So sorry guys, I was just pulling up the Q&A. I didn't realize you guys we'll get to those questions. How do I transit? So I paid for my tuition as a myofunctional therapist from the beginning. I worked for a really, really, really great practice, but they were not Airway centric. And I knew that this was something that I just kind of wanted to be able to do on my own. So I made the decision to invest in myself. And it was the absolute best decision that I ever made. I think if I think back to almost a decade ago when I did it, did I think at that time that I was ever going to leave clinical hygiene? Probably not. I love clinical hygiene. I love being a dental hygienist. But the passion that I have for Airway and how it can just change family lives exponentially, I did eventually step away from that clinical hygiene role. Although if my office called me and asked me to temp, I totally would for a day just for fun and to see my patients. But if I was working for the doctor that paid for my tuition, that's hard. I think that my biggest piece of advice when I have clarity calls that I do with hygienists and other, healthcare providers that are looking to get into myo, my biggest piece of advice when you are going to have your doctor pay for your tuition is have some kind of contract in place so that you don't get to these awkward moments, right? Like if they're paying for your tuition, then do you have to work for them for X amount of years? Or, is there like a non-compete? Whatever you guys feel comfortable putting in there, but so you have those terms already set. And this is something that we actually talk about in the course is the importance of contracts, not only for that part of it, but I think even more importantly for protecting your intellectual property, right? Like if you're going to be the one going to take this myofunctional therapy course, you're going to be the one starting this myofunctional therapy program, building this program from scratch. If you choose to leave, what happens with all of that you created, right? We have to be fair here. So contracts just really help to protect both parties, right? So that when it is time to dissolve that relationship, you guys are able to do it amicably. If you want to, sorry, I was just looking at the person that asked this question. If you want to reach out to me personally, like if you have a specific situation, I am more than happy to help. You can email me. My email is brittny@myctom.com. I'd be happy to help answer with more detail the conversation I would have with your doctor, depending on, whatever details go into your working relationship.
All right. Can dentists bill myofunctional therapy to dental or medical insurance companies? And if so, what codes would you use?
This is a great question. So most myofunctional therapy programs, like courses that you take, I know that mine does, we do go over codes. They are definitely medical. It is not billed to dental. With that being said, there are not myofunctional therapy codes that exist. Most of the codes that you would utilize on like a super bill, say, are going to be physical therapy codes. I am not a physical therapist, right? So when that gets to an insurance company, more often than not, they're going to deny it. I have had I don't ever do any of the submission. Most of the time, most myofunctional therapists are giving out super bills to patients to then go and try to submit it themselves, but it goes to the medical. I have seen some people maybe like, again, I feel like this kind of goes hand in hand with the growth and awareness of myofunctional therapy, probably in the last like 3 to 5 years. I definitely have had more people get some kind of reimbursement than if you were to ask me this question like 10 years ago. One of the things that I find is if they can apply for something called I think it's called a gap exemption, which basically means that there isn't a treating provider in whatever mile radius that your insurance company sets that provides these services, then sometimes they are able to get reimbursement. Also, obviously, it's going to depend if they have in or out of network coverage, but regardless, it is going to go to their medical insurance.
Do most myofunctional therapists work for themselves? Are there practices that hire myofunctional therapists to work for themselves? And one more part, are there practices that hire myofunctional therapists to work for them remotely?
I love that you guys think that my brain can withhold. I got lost after the first question.
Okay, the first part, do myofunctional therapists work for themselves?
Okay, so this is a very good question, and we will get to all of those questions. So I would say a majority probably have their own private practices. With that being said, one of the really cool things about myofunctional therapy is you can practice a multitude of ways. You can practice all the ways at the same time, right? Like if you want to work under work in your current dental practice, seeing your dental practice's patients, right? You can do that. You can work something out with the doctor, whether you're a 1099 for them, or if you're gonna bring your, whatever you get, LLC, say, and say your company's called, I don't know, Tongue Palace. I couldn't think of anything craftier in my head right now. And you're renting space, say, from your dentist, you can pay him or her like a rent for the days or for the month or however much time you're going to be utilizing the space. There are times where you can just do commission based. So you might cut that doctor a piece of the commission. That commission might vary depending on if they refer the patient or you're just seeing a patient in their office but still utilizing their space. You can, all at the same time of that, having your own practice working in the dental office, also travel to homes if that's something you want to do. Where you don't have one home location and, think about how crazy busy everybody is right now. I do think that that can be something that a lot of people would probably really appreciate. But to answer really the question, I would say most myofunctional therapists do work for themselves. But again, with that being said, there are some people, there are some of our alumni that I chat with, and they're like, I know that I want to do myofunctional therapy, but I have zero interest in running the business, right? Because it is 2 jobs, and Dana can attest to this with me. You are all the people when you run your own practice, right? You are the clinician, you're the biller, you're the scheduler, you're the social media marketer, you're the outreach person to gain those referrals. It is a lot of work, and some people have zero interest in that, but they're still looking for something that can get them out of the physical part of the hygiene operatory, but still want to work for somebody. I have 5 1099 myofunctional therapists that work for my company, CT Oral Facial Myology. Same thing with the other company that I co-own, MyoAir. We have contracted myofunctional therapists as well. Tooth Pillow is another option. So Tooth Pillow, we do have a myofunctional therapy program there. I'm the co-director of the program, and we bring on new myofunctional therapists all the time. We are growing and growing rapidly. So that is always an option as well. So there are different ways that you can practice myofunctional therapy if you're somebody that like just doesn't want to deal with the headache of all the other stuff. You just want to do the fun stuff and be the myofunctional therapist and work with patients. It's totally doable. Did I answer all the questions?
Let's see. Yep, I think you did.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, 3-part question. Okay. Might you agree or not agree with those who claim that orofacial myofunctional disorders contribute to the etiology of all deciduous skeletal malocclusion traits?
I would agree. The root cause, like when I go to do a lunch and learn in an orthodontic practice and we get to this question, which I feel like every lunch and learn we get to this question of, okay, like we love this. This is great. Like, can you just give us like a cheat sheet of like, who should we be referring to you? Like what patient should we be referring over to you? If you're in an orthodontist chair, you need myofunctional therapy. The reason you got to that point, the reason you developed these malocclusions or the reason you grew inefficiently or deficiently is because of that soft tissue dysfunction. Form follows function. So if that function is not good, that form is not going to be good. And it's really important that we address both of them. I truly, truly believe that form and function have a bi-directional relationship, right? Like even for me as a myofunctional therapist, if I'm working with a patient whose arch is so tiny, like let's say, okay, in a perfect world, we're going for a 40 millimeter transverse width, let's say an adult patient. And I'm working with an adult patient who, instead of having a 40 millimeter transverse width, has a 30 millimeter transverse width. Well, I educate that patient and I let them know that by age 5, we want to be at 30 millimeters. Okay. So by age 5, and now I'm working with a 45-year-old person who has a 30 millimeter palate. It is going to be difficult for me to get that tongue to rest appropriately in the roof of the mouth. Your tongue should fit in the roof of the mouth like a car fits in a garage. That garage is teeny tiny. I'm gonna be scraping up the sides of my car real bad with that size, right? So we have to know our limitations. We have to collaborate. It is so important. And then yes, I feel like, you know, when I do lunch and learns or I do little outreach programs and go and talk to, you know, CE events and, you know, dental meetings and societies and things like that. Sometimes I feel like a broken record because I'm like, okay, everybody say it with me. What is the root cause, right? Soft tissue dysfunction. So we have to address that. I mean, think about how many patients you see in your chair that have orthodontic relapse, that have gone through orthodontics or Invisalign multiple times. It's like, what's that saying? What's that saying about being insane?
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different outcome.
Yes, that is the one. We have to do something different. Clearly something's not working out. And if we're not addressing what the actual root cause of the problem was, well, guess what? Things are going to revert right back. We have to have good balance between those oral facial muscles. So between the tongue and the way the cheeks and the lips work, we have to have counterbalancing pressures in order to support that nice, beautiful arch. So yes, to that person that asked that question, I absolutely 100% do agree that OMDs do contribute to the etiology of malocclusion.
Have you tried charging more for peak hours? Also, do you offer both short and long therapy sessions?
So I have never thought about charging more for peak hours. I think the reason maybe is because I feel like everybody, well, I guess that's why you're asking this question, because everybody wants peak hours. No, I don't do that. I don't know, like personally, I don't know how I feel about that. I don't know that I would feel good about doing that because again, you only have so many of those peak hours to give to people, right? But I guess to that point, if people are willing to pay X amount of dollars more. So no, I have not tried that. I probably wouldn't try that personally, but you can do what you want, right? You own your own myofunctional therapy practice, I assume. So Sure, you can do that. I'm sorry, I don't have a good answer to that question. I guess that my answer is just no. And then the second question, do I offer both short and long therapy programs? So we do. So we have like our full myofunctional therapy program, which again, anybody presenting with OMDs, with, that needs help with their overall oral rest posture, that has a tongue thrust swallowing pattern, more often than not, they're going to need a full myofunctional therapy program. With that being said, we do have smaller programs just to get people started. Sometimes what I find is as they get started and they see the progress that they're having and they're seeing their symptoms either decrease or eliminate, they're able to also just, because every appointment we're educating, right? So they're able to understand more and more what the importance of this therapy. We do offer shorter sessions. We have like a 6 or an 8 session program that they can also sign up for. However, it is very important that they do understand what your actual recommendation is, right? So if you're recommending a full program and your full program is, 12 sessions, and they're only agreeing to 6 sessions, then you can't, in that contract, it has to say that you guys aren't going to be able to reach your goals, right? That's not your recommendation. This is not what you're suggesting for optimal results. So you can totally do that. Again, that's one of the great things about owning your own practice is you can kind of make the rules about what you want to do. And if it doesn't work, you can always change it. There's some people that charge by session as a myofunctional therapist and have wonderful success. And they have done that for years and years and years. And for me personally, in my practice, I found that when I was doing by session, that's where I would have people kind of like trickle off. So we have people signing on board for whatever the length of the program is, because I feel like when they're making that initial commitment, you already know from the get-go that they're in it, right? They're in it to win it. So myofunctional therapy is an extremely compliant-based therapy. You want people that are in it. You don't want people that like just have their toe in the door, because you are not going to be successful. They're going to be upset and think that they wasted their money, even though they didn't contribute much to the program. So again, I always tell everybody, like, what works for me and my practices might not work for you. So trial and error always works best, but I don't think there's anything wrong with offering a short and long program. I also don't know if that person meant like the time of the session. So I'm just going to go over that as well. I would say most typical myofunctional therapy sessions are about 30 minutes, 45 minutes at the max for like an actual session. As far as the initial evaluation goes, those are typically anywhere from, I would say at the low end, 60 minutes to the high end of 2 hours. The other question that sometimes I get is as far as like charging more, like I've had actual patients ask me this because we offer virtual and in-person therapy. And I've had people ask me, is there any, difference in price between virtual therapy or in-person therapy? And I do not charge any different because my quality of care is not going to change. So I don't feel that I should charge somebody more just because they're actually able to come into my practice. I also treat patients globally. So some people just obviously can't physically drive in. They're not going to hop on a plane to come see me for their myofunctional therapy session. So I don't charge any difference for that. And I think I remember somebody asking something about remote therapy. A lot of myofunctional therapists do choose to actually only purely practice remotely. I don't. We offer both, but do know that is something that you can totally do. I will say when I first started myofunctional therapy, I started remote therapy from the get-go. So I think that the turn really happened during COVID because people found like, oh, okay, this actually does work. And kids are used to being on the computer now and having to sit at the computer. So like behavior usually isn't an issue depending on the child's age. But remote is an option. When I first started, there were no Airway providers really that existed in Connecticut. There were like maybe 2 or 3. So I had no choice but to network with with providers throughout the country. So I started remote therapy from the beginning. And on my team of therapists that I have, so my practice is called CT Oral Facial Myology. We're obviously located in Connecticut. I have a therapist in Florida. I have a therapist in New York. I have a therapist in Maine. And same thing for my MyoAir practice that I co-own with Joanne. So we're located in New York and Florida, but we also have somebody that is in, oh my gosh, she's going to kill me if I say the wrong place. I think she's in Nevada. I'm so bad with geography. She's wonderful. Wherever she's located somewhere over there. So remote therapy definitely does work. So no, that's an option too. Like there are myofunctional therapists whose businesses are booming and they need help. And you might see posts throughout our social media groups like, hey, I'm looking for a virtual myofunctional therapist that can do X, Y, and Z hour. So just keep in mind, again, if you're somebody that isn't wanting to run your own business, you're looking to work from home, maybe you're a mom and you're like, you know what, this work from home thing might be kind of cool. I can't really do that obviously as a dental hygienist. That is an option.
How do I find a good myofunctional therapist?
This is a great question. So I would say there's a bunch of different directories. We do have on on the Airway Health Solutions website, we do have a directory, or it's like a map that you type in the zip code and it'll bring up the myofunctional therapists that have been trained through my introductory course. So you can look there. You can look on the IAOM directory, which is the International Association of Oral-Facial Myology. You can look on the AOMT directory. You can look on the AAPMD directory. There are a bunch of directories out there, but you also can just do a simple Google search to see who is local in your area and honestly just meet with them. Meet with them, ask the right questions, what their experience is, how do they treat, I don't know who asked this question, but whatever your specialty is, if you're ortho or pedo or, whatever, making sure that they have it, they don't just treat adult patients if you're a pediatric dentist. You know what I mean? Like find out more about them and their practice. LinkedIn would be another really good resource. Yes, sorry, those are my answers.
Okay, this one is a long one. Okay. I'll read it.
Get my brain.
I'll read the whole thing and then we'll break it down.
Okay, cool.
How do we work on a tongue thrust swallow? Most important exercises. What can we do when a family doesn't cooperate? Can we focus on just some basics? Which exercises can I, as a general dentist, give out to someone who is doing a tongue tie release, not with me, to help along the way? I know it's individual, but it must be better to do something rather than nothing. So okay. Most important exercises for a tongue thrust swallow.
Okay. So my response to that would be is when I see a tongue thrust, I see that as a symptom of something else that's going on. And that something else is incorrect oral rest posture. So we can't just target that tongue thrust swallowing pattern because it's going to be really difficult to change somebody's swallow pattern who has poor overall oral rest posture. You really have to work on correcting that overall oral rest posture, getting the tongue resting in the roof of the mouth, the lips closed, whatever other compensations might be going on, like working to decompensate those. Once you're able to correct the overall oral rest posture, the swallowing exercises and the retraining of the swallow comes much, much smoother and less frustrating for the patient. I learned this the hard way, I think. When I first became a myofunctional therapist, the initial training that I had, it was more kind of like blueprint programs for myo, like do this at session 1, this at session 2. And I very quickly learned that just wasn't going to work because one of them would be do this swallow exercise, say at session 2, and I'd have patients and they couldn't do it. And I was like, but wait, my sheet says that you need to do this exercise. So like, I don't know what to do now. So I learned that you have to really work on strengthening those individual muscles, make sure that that back of the tongue can isolate, can elevate, has good posterior seal before you even try to consider working on the swallowing pattern. So I don't know that there's a most important exercise for that because the most important thing I would say is correcting that overall rest posture through a full myofunctional therapy program. These are not going to be patients. Myofunctional therapy in general, it's not like a 1 or 2, 4 session thing and you're done. Most of the time it is a lengthier program. We're working with patients anywhere from 4 months to 12 months, sometimes even longer, depending on what kind of treatment they're in. We might not be actively seeing them that whole time, but we might be involved and work with them. Okay, what was the next question?
What can we do when a family doesn't or won't cooperate?
Yeah, okay. So I also learned this the hard way. And so what we do now in my practice is we have, compliance reports that I ask each of the therapists to give out to their patient from the very beginning. So basically, it's just like a chart, and it says week 1 and any notes that that therapist has for week 1, and it has a grade, like a grade of how compliant they were. I think that that is important to have like written down somewhere, because you of course can say to somebody again and again, you need to do your exercises, you need to do your exercises. But when the family tries to switch it and say like, well, why aren't we seeing any progress? You can pull up this report and you're like, look, it's all right here. You know what I mean? I also don't want to waste the family's time or the family's money, or frankly, my time, for somebody that isn't compliant. So we kind of have like a 3-strike rule and you're out. Like, we're going to have this conversation 3 times. And after that, like, we're at least pausing therapy, if not like, what's the word I'm looking for? Not dissociating. I can't think of the word. Dissolving our relationship, right? And stopping, at least for the time being. And sometimes that might just look like giving them a month off. But there are times that I turn cases away if I think that compliance is going to be an issue. But other things that you can do to try to keep them motivated and engaged is you have to find out what they like and try to bring that into your therapy however you can. So if you're working with kids, like Disney princesses, superheroes, like make your exercises named things related to things that they like, or say, whatever, Superman has really, strong muscles. How strong do you think his tongue is? Well, this exercise, I bet he does every day because he's so strong. You know what I mean? Trying to just kind of keep them engaged. Reward charts can be helpful, like positive reinforcement. I don't ever like to suggest like these big prizes, because I feel like they'll do it till they get the prize and then they're not going to be compliant anymore. So I usually say to families, like, make things like experience based, right? Like maybe they can go to trampoline park after doing their exercises for like 2 consecutive weeks or something like that.
And then I think the other ones kind of answered also, because they wanted to know about exercises for tongue tie release. Yeah, any individual exercises for tongue tie release.
Yeah, so any patient that's getting a tongue tie release, absolutely 1,000% should be enrolled in a myofunctional therapy program, because every patient is so different, and the way that we prep the patients is going to be different depending on their level of restriction, the compensations they're presenting with. So we really can't say, do these exercises, everybody, and you'll be good, And I get that, some people think that something's better than nothing, which I understand. But what I really find is when we have really good airway providers, whether they're the release provider, the orthodontist, the airway dentist, whoever, and they kind of just make the myofunctional therapy like non-negotiable. Like, I won't release your tongue until I literally have a written signature from the myofunctional therapist saying that you're ready. Now, that might seem a little hardcore to some, but we're only thinking what's best for the patient, because we know doing anything else is really providing subpar care. So I think you just have to be firm in your recommendations. And again, that education and getting them to understand, like, you are going to get less than optimal results if you don't do this. And I don't know many people that are going to go as far as actually undergoing a tongue tie release procedure with the thought process in mind that, this isn't really going to be an optimal thing. Like, I might heal okay, I probably won't, scar tissue is likely going to form, and still want to go ahead with it. We can provide like a shorter program. So maybe, they just want to do the pre and post op. So that's an option, but they also have to understand that that's not ever going to be a myofunctional therapist's recommendation, because we can get them through active wound management and make sure everything heals. But then what? We have to retrain those muscles. Things don't just start to work better because all that new range of motion is there. So I hope that helped answer the question.
This one's pretty vague. I'm not really sure. It says, how does myofunctional therapy play a role?
It plays a role in every treatment plan, if you ask me. So it plays a big role. I don't
Yes.
know. I think there was probably supposed to be a second part to that question.
Yeah. All right. The next one is, how does one use this certification to make money? Are there dental codes to use in the dental office? Do you have to have your own business, side business that professionals refer patients to? What is the typical range of compensation?
Okay, this is probably going to be our last question that we'll get to because we have some other things we have to go over. But do know that I think what I'll try to do for anybody that is like, but wait, you didn't get to my question. I will answer these in the Myohygienist Facebook group. If everybody, if you're not part of it, please join, and I will try to get all your questions answered because I appreciate you spending the time with us. So I want to make sure that we get to everything. Okay, so the first question was, how does one use a certification to make money?
Yes.
Okay, so I don't know. So, well, you're charging for your services, right? So, you're gonna take a myofunctional therapy course. Now, keep in mind, you do not have to get certified to practice myofunctional therapy. I highly, highly, highly encourage you to go the certification route with the IAOM and get your COM certification, which is Certified Oral Facial Myologist. But you will begin practicing myofunctional therapy before you actually get that certification, because in order to get the certification, you have to have experience. You're presenting case studies, they're watching you perform therapy with X amount of patients. So do know, like if you chose to take my 8-week introductory course, by the time the course finishes, you can start doing myofunctional therapy that very next day, because you, especially if your plan is certification, you want to get that patient experience. That is the only way that we're going to learn and we're going to grow and develop into like amazing myofunctional therapists. We have to kind of just dive into it all. So as far as how do you make money? Well, you're charging for your services. More often than not, we're not accepting insurance. So oftentimes it is an out-of-pocket expense. We go over in the course, different payment plans and structures and things like that you can do. I do also go over in the course super bill production, so how to provide a super bill for patients, insurance reimbursement, like how, if you wanted to do this, how to fill out like a medical reimbursement form. Honestly, this might sound horrible, but I don't recommend wasting your time doing that, because the likelihood you're going to get something back is like literally 99.999%. You're not going to get anything back. And it is a lot of time on your end. So unless you have somebody that you can hire to specifically do that, your time is so much more valuable being the clinician. But you can charge by session, you can charge for your program. We charge, all of our fees are upfront. So when somebody schedules an evaluation, let's say the evaluation is $250. They're paying that fee in order to get put on our schedule, okay? Because it's an hour and a half of our time. So we can't have people not showing up to their appointment and wasting that hour and a half. Same thing for their programs. We want to make sure that we're working with people that are really committed. So we're having them sign on for whatever program it is the myofunctional therapist recommended, and they're either paying that all up front, or we do offer payment plans. And again, this is all written out like in contracts. It's very, very important. We discuss this all in the course. And then there was something about business, but I don't remember what.
What's the typical range of compensation?
Oh, okay. So I will say, if you're going to be working for somebody else and you're just providing the myofunctional therapy, typical compensation is like 35 to 40% is definitely industry standard. As far as if you're going to like go private practice, like general fees, usually my suggestion is, because it's obviously going to depend on where you are geographically, call a local myofunctional therapist office if they exist near you and see what they're charging, or call a local speech office and see what they're typically charging for a session of speech. Now, no, I'm not doing speech. So if anybody's on here, don't think that means I'm practicing speech therapy, because I am not. But just to get an idea of like, because I don't know this, I'm a hygienist, right? What does a typical session of, therapy look like as far as fees? You can do that. I will say on average, what I see for evaluations, I would say $150 for an evaluation, I think is very low, but I've seen it. I would say up to $350 being a comfortable average for an evaluation. I've also seen higher than $350. That's going to depend on you and what you think your time is worth and your value and everything that's going into that evaluation. I've seen $500, I've seen more. It's going to depend. As far as therapy sessions, I would say $100 for a 30-minute session is definitely on the lower end. I would say $150 is probably more average. Up to like on the higher end, I have seen $500 a session. I personally think that's ludicrous, but that's just me. And I'm entitled to my own opinion, and I don't, whatever anybody wants to charge is totally fine. Up to, I would say like $350 a session on like the higher average of things. Is that all of them?
No, do you want me to keep going?
No, is that all for that question?
Oh yeah, sorry. Yep, that's the end of that question.
Okay, the other thing that I'm gonna do really quick is just screenshot these questions that came in from the attendees so that I can also get these answered for you guys. I'm almost done. And then we're gonna chat a little bit. I'm gonna have an offer for you at the end. Remember, you do have to stay on at the end for that CE credit. I'm sorry that this is taking so long. There's probably like a way more tech savvy way of doing this than what I'm doing, but it still gets the job done, guys. So that's all that matters. All right, I'm gonna share my screen, so give me a sec. Can you guys see my presentation? We're good? Okay. So if you are interested in becoming a myofunctional therapist, you already know for sure you want to become a myofunctional therapist, and you are interested in taking our Airway Health Solutions School of Myo introductory course. I am the instructor. It is an 8-week hybrid virtual and live, on demand and live course. Our next cohort begins June 4th. I'm super excited. And then our final cohort for this 2025 calendar year will be September. Basically how it works, upon registration, and that QR code right there will take you right to our website so you can learn more. It says 28 hours, but the June cohort is actually going to be a little bit more. It'll probably be somewhere closer to like 35 CEUs that you'll get. But what happens is when you register, you'll gain access to about 9.5 hours of pre-learned content. Not all of the content has to be watched before the start of the course. I would say at least module 1. Then starting on the beginning of the course date, so June 4th or September 24th, if you choose to wait till the fall, every Wednesday, a lecture will be released for you to watch in your own time. I absolutely love this part of it because my introductory course was live, and it's a lot of information to take in. So the fact that you can rewind me, you can slow down my voice, you can speed up my voice, you can do whatever you want, watch it 18 times if you want, whatever. You will be able to also have access to the information for life as long as Dropbox continues to exist. That folder will be there for you. And then following that Wednesday lecture, every Monday for 8 weeks, we meet for a live virtual Q&A. Everything is recorded, so if you cannot make it because, I don't know, you have to bring your daughter to softball practice or something, that is totally fine. Just shoot me an email, let me know. Let me know if you have any questions that you want me to cover during that time, and I'd be more than happy to do so. At the end of the 8 weeks, that final week is case study presentations. This is my absolute favorite part of the course because it is not me presenting case studies, although I do throughout the course, but it is you presenting to the rest of the group a case study that you have started. So you are already leaving the class, intake, doing your assessment, doing your evaluation, treatment planning, making referrals, troubleshooting. If this exercise didn't go right, what tool did you use to help them achieve whatever X, Y, and Z goal? That part is a lot of fun because it's such a good learning experience. Not only are you doing it, but everybody else in the group is doing it too. So you get to leave already seeing the start of, however many participants are in the course, watching their live case studies, which is really cool. Again, so if you want more information, scan that QR code. So we do have some exclusive perks with our AHS School of Myo introductory course. You will get access to a lecture from the GOATs of this, Dr. Ben Moralia and Dr. Kevin Boyd. They are absolutely fantastic. Anytime you ever have the opportunity to listen to either of these providers, these clinicians speak, it is well worth everything that you have. I mean, they're just absolutely brilliant, and they're just really cool people, which also makes it even easier to listen and learn from them. I'm a huge fan. So we will have a lecture from each of them will be in your Dropbox. We have continued support. So I feel like this is really important because you don't want to take an introductory course and then be ghosted by your instructor, because you are going to have questions, right? Like anything, if you're new to this, something's going to come up. I'm not going anywhere. It's not goodbye after the 8 weeks. We have our private alumni Facebook group. I host quarterly Q&As in there. We host monthly or bi-monthly case reviews, depending on who wants to volunteer to do that. At the end of the course, you'll gain access to a WhatsApp chat where we're just kind of chit-chatting literally throughout the day, like we're texting back and forth with all the alumni that, get put into the group. It's a lot of fun. We do have opportunities for in-office shadowing. If you wanted to come and shadow me and my team, you are more than welcome to. There are also virtual options for this as well. I know for some people it's hard to make that flight out to Connecticut. So if this is something that interests you, again, you can go to our website and get some more information. Another really cool perk of our School of Alumni introductory course is you are eligible for a paid internship through Tooth Pillow. So you heard me mention Tooth Pillow a bunch tonight. We are building a myofunctional therapy team, like a very dynamic, amazing myofunctional therapy team. And what is so cool is I wish that there was something like this that existed when I finished, because I knew I wanted to get started, but I was nervous, right? It's something new. So what happens in this internship program is for your first 10 patients that you see, you are mentored by either myself or Laura Eckhart, who's the other director of the myofunctional therapy program. So you are already getting patients in your schedule, which is the hardest part, right? Filling your schedule, building that network. Right away, you will get access to these custom myofunctional therapy programs. You're going to gain that hands-on experience so that you're able to build confidence, refine your skills, put everything that you learned into then going out and building your own private practice. We really want to be able to help you put that theory into practice so that you feel confident, again, going on and being in your own private practice. So you're going to receive that one-on-one guidance. There's a lot of team building opportunities as well. And then advanced placement options as well within the company if you want to continue on as a myofunctional therapist. This is just a little pamphlet. If you guys want to take a picture of this, you're more than welcome. You also can just go to the Tooth Pillow website, toothpillow.com. This just gives a little bit more information. Once you complete the School of Myo introductory course, it does make you eligible for your certification through the IAOM. Okay, that's the Certified Oral Facial Myologist certification. Again, I highly, highly recommend it. Basically what you need once you finish our 8-week course, you will be provided a certificate of completion essentially. And when you apply for your certification, that's going to be the first step. They have to know that you have taken an introductory course. I also really recommend becoming a member of the IAOM. You can use this code 25 off to get $25 off the membership. It is so great to be able to have just a community of like-minded professionals all fighting for the same thing and all having that same mission in mind to just continue to spread this awareness to literally everybody that we can. And that collaboration piece is really an important part as well of being a member with the IAOM. We are offering a flash sale, so if you are interested in the course, please, please, please do sign up before May 31st, before 11:59 p.m. Eastern Standard Time if you want the discount. The discount Myo Flash 500 is going to provide you $500 off the tuition. Again, there's a QR code on here. Scan it, save that little tab in your phone if you need to go back and do it later. If you are not sure that this is the step you want to take, but you think so, but you just need a little bit of talking to, you have more questions, again, please follow me, the Myohygienist on Instagram or my website. I do offer free clarity calls. So they're 20-minute free phone calls, just you and me getting into the nitty-gritty, seeing if this is actually the right path for you. Is it the right time for you? Just, again, making sure that you feel confident in this step to just invest in yourself. So yes, if you want to chat more with me, let me know. If you're already a myofunctional therapist, we do have a business success course that will start on June 18th or October 8th for our fall semester. Talking more about the ins and outs of the business, how to, get your business started, how to apply for, again, whatever business type you're wanting to, what's going to be best for you. how to network, how to gain referrals, how to work with that interdisciplinary team. Basically what will happen is you will join on our introductory course at about I think it's week 3 you come in. So I have you guys coming in at the tethered oral tissues week because everybody always has questions about tongue ties. So you have access to that lecture. You have access to our exercises because it's always nice, even if you have a laundry list of exercises, to be able to add more to your toolbox so that you're able to help patients. We go through the troubleshooting. We go through, softwares, how is best to get everything up and running as far as like EHR platforms, where am I storing everything, photos we need to take, equipment we need to have, basically what you need to do to be able to start your business successfully. We also offer a mini myology course. So if you're in pediatrics or just looking to work more with the younger population, that 5 and under population, this is going to be the course for you. It definitely is different than treating a traditional myofunctional therapy patient. This is my favorite course. So our Mastering Tongue Tie Readiness, my 10-step clinical process for myofunctional therapists. We do have a Q&A after these courses, so they are on demand. You watch the lectures yourself, and then we do meet for a Q&A. Everybody has questions about this. How do I know if somebody actually needs to have their tongue tie released? How do I know when they're ready? How far do I need to get them until they have that green light? What are the signs I need to look for? We go through like case study presentations. Presentations. I love this course. I think it just really helps you feel more confident in that evaluation and that management of tongue ties, because first of all, a tongue tie is only a tongue tie if function is impacted, but even more so, if we're able to restore function through our myofunctional therapy program, then we don't even need to be recommending this release anymore, right? So really understanding the ins and outs of knowing what function truly looks like and how do we know when we need to send these patients for their releases. Airway Palooza, this is an event you don't want to miss. It is going to be in Fort Lauderdale, Florida this year, October 17th to 18th. You can see this incredible speaker lineup. I am like so absolutely honored to be on this panel. I mean, it's just going to be such a fun event. Lauren Gates, she puts on any event that you go to of Lauren's is just like, she blows it out of the park. So it's so fun. It's so classy. It is, you feel like, I don't know everybody's experiences with going to conferences, but I love conferences where it's like one big party and everybody is like together, right? And it's not like these little mini groups. Like it's really about learning together, growing together, bouncing ideas off of each other, networking, collaborating. And this is really what this conference is about. So if you are interested in joining us, we would love to have you. You can use the coupon code AP Murphy for $200 off. And somebody I think asked about the masterclass, but Lauren does put on free masterclasses from time to time. I forget how often she actually does them, but the next one coming up is Wednesday, June 4th, 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You will gain 2 CEs. It's free, so just register. Again, a great panel. We have Dr. Ben Moralia, Dr. Bill Arnold, and Dr. Jonelle, I don't want to butcher the name, Crichton maybe. Just absolutely fabulous airway providers. So again, a night to just learn and grow together. And I think that is it. So I'm sorry guys, we're 4 minutes over, but hopefully you guys found this helpful. Again, remember, I will answer those questions for you. If you ever have any other questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. I hope everybody has a wonderful, wonderful night, and we will see you all next time. And Dana, thank you so much for being on here with me.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.